Hey there! Welcome to Middle Age Crazy, the show that proves being an adult doesn't have to suck. With your host, Chuck T.
Hello and welcome. Come on in, get comfortable, take a seat. This is the debut episode of the Middle Age Crazy podcast, the show that proves being an adult doesn't have to suck. I'm your host, Chuck T, and I really appreciate you tuning in today. You might have a couple of questions right off the bat. One, who is this Chuck guy? And two, why am I listening to him? Both are good questions. Like I already said, my name's Chuck T. I'm 43 years old and I live in Des Moines, Iowa. And I have a somewhat boring job that's not really worth discussing on a podcast. But I do have some weird and random interests. Here's what my Twitter bio says. Wife and kid, music, podcasts, rat race, food, cats, pugs, games, movies, gardens, pro wrestling, Star Wars, and Marvel. So, guaranteed I might talk about any of that stuff at any given moment. Because of those varied interests and the fact that I've gotten to live in a few different spots around the country, I've been lucky enough to meet some people that have very interesting jobs, careers, and or hobbies. So you're listening to this show to hear those amazing stories, and hopefully be entertained along the way. Some housekeeping items first. We're going to be dropping 2 shows a month on the 1st and 15th of every month. We might move into more shows, but right now 2 is literally all I can handle a month. We're everywhere on social media at Middle Age Pod. You can also check our website out, middleagepod.com. And if you want to contact the show, give us an email at middleagecrazypod@gmail. And now for the best part, our hotline. We have voicemail ready 24/7, 365 for our listeners to call in and use. Give me a call, tell me if you think something's awesome, tell me if you think I suck, tell me if you have a great idea, but just give us a call. We really want to encourage listener interaction, so give us a buzz at 515-478-3412. We want you to use that number so you too can get involved in the show. It's 515-478-3412. And you know what? I already need your help for a segment. This is a brand new segment we're going to start called Now That Guy Got Canned.
Now that guy got canned.
Give me a call and leave a short message describing a really great story of you getting fired from a job, or maybe you witnessed somebody getting fired from a job. Give us a buzz, drop a quick message, a minute or two, and give us the cool story. And here's the kicker, if we get enough submissions, I'm going to tell my own story about the time I got fired from the radio station Rock 108 right in the middle of a shift and ended up blackballed from the entire radio industry. So give us a call, 515-478-3412. All right, enough of me running my mouth, let's get to the first interview. My first guest is Carnage the Executioner. He's a rapper and beatboxer from the Twin Cities that I got a chance to meet a few years ago at a gig I saw him at when I used to live up there. This dude puts on one of the most amazing shows that I have ever seen live, especially if you've never seen anybody build beats with their mouth live on stage and then start rapping over it. It's so cool. He does this full time as an independent musician, and guess what? He's good enough to support himself and his whole family. So the dude's got it going on. He's got a great story. Let's get episode 1 going. It's the Middle Age Crazy podcast with Carnage the Executioner. Let's do it.
Name Terrell, Maynard Terrell Woods, aka Carnage the Executioner. I will be 45 in December, December 14th. I am an independent artist. I do all things related to artistic development, music, and things like that for a job. And I am my own boss, so that's why I'm independent. But everything I do has to do with artistic development. So I say independent artist more than I would just say like a musician or just a rapper. You know what I'm saying? There's a little bit more, or it's a lot more to what I do than just that. And it all is an equal balance, or a delicate balance of all of those things make me successful in what I'm doing, because I have to balance them all. If I was just trying to do music, I probably wouldn't be as nearly as successful as I am now.
Well, that's fantastic. That's
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. No, that's a fantastic description. I think that's a fantastic description to your approach to the business. And I got to say, welcome to the show. Welcome to Middle Age Crazy.
Thank you. And I forgot to mention that I live in Minnesota. I'm actually on the St. Paul side of Minnesota.
Okay,
now.
excellent.
But everybody knows Minneapolis, Minnesota, so you can just say that.
Okay, right on. Well, before we get into questions and start having a chat, I want to see if there's anything you want to plug right now. I know you got a new record out. You're on the road, so if there's anything you want to get out or right out of the way, some business, go for it.
The best album I've ever put out, called Ravenous, is streaming everywhere now. It's also for sale everywhere for anybody who wants the dope physical copy rather than just the digital. I am touring that album. I'm on my third tour promoting the album, and I tour differently from everybody else when it comes to album promo, and we'll get into that with your other questions later. But that album is out, fully available for purchase. My website, CarnageTheExecutioner.com. I have a store with a whole bunch of stuff you could order from there. I'm currently on the Eat to Live tour, pushing the album and pushing my philosophy on overcoming overconsumption, how to balance the things you want versus the things you need, and how to make yourself healthy in this crazy world of fast-paced moving and availability of everything you can get your hands and teeth on. How do you differentiate what you need versus what you want? So that's what the whole thing is about right now.
And I'm liking. I finally got a chance to watch the new video, the Live to Eat video. So I'm digging the new song. And
Thank you.
You've lost a shit ton of weight, dude. How much weight do you think you've lost since you kind of started changing things around?
I would just say from the biggest weight I've ever been, I'm down at least 100 over 100 pounds.
Damn.
The biggest weight I've ever been.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I got some more to lose too, but yeah, I'm definitely over 100 pounds down.
And it's not easy. I'm trying to be healthier as well. I'm going to be 43 in a couple days when we're recording this.
For real? Happy birthday, man. Like, if I miss you, yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
I'm sure Facebook will tell you, but anyway.
Yeah, I might not be on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm letting you know now.
I get the med done every year and the blood tests and everything, and it came back not so hot, and the doctor and the wife were like, you got to start eating better, and so I haven't taken it as far as you have, but I understand the struggle because dude, there's just so much bad out there that tastes so good. It's tough, man.
Yeah, this is, and I'm not going to say that like I'm like this super vegan religiously, I don't put anything into my body that's not comfort food person, but cutting out meat and dairy and all that stuff for me was a huge change. Now I can pretty much eat any of the other stuff and it doesn't affect me. I think I'm still slowly losing weight. Like I've definitely peaked at in the first 3 months, I lost 40 pounds alone.
Oh, damn.
So that was a big deal. But, like I said, I'm not like this big, I'm going to preach to you about never eat vegan comfort food either if you're vegan and all this, because I do get down and eat some things. But the difference now is I don't put anything into my body that I would consider poisonous to me, because the more I eat of animal related products or anything like that, I just blow up. It's not good for my body. So, people can say, well, you're not a healthy vegan. And I was like, well, I'm still eating vegan as somebody who's eating healthier than you if you're eating a hamburger. So don't give me that shit.
Well, yeah. And it's for, everyone has their own journey. Like me, mine is sugar. So me, it was getting off mine was getting off of Mountain Dew. The minute I stopped drinking Mountain Dew, a handful of pounds just kind of fell off.
Yeah,
now
it will do that.
Now it's a little more challenging, but I think everyone has their own journey. So if something's working, so I say keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. I just wanted to say that part for the people who, because I don't run around saying I'm vegan and ooh, you're so gross because you eat meat.
Yeah, that gets lame.
But people want to say that to me. They want to say, oh, you just think you're better than everybody because you don't eat meat. And I'm like, no, you're being an asshole right now, because guess what? I like meat. I like meat. I like the way meat tastes. I like cheese. I like the way that shit tastes. I don't drink milk. I would never drink another glass of cow's milk. But I'm saying, I like that other shit. I just refuse to eat it because it's not good for my body. So,
exactly.
I don't have to be looked at as, I saw even somebody I like, D.L. Hughley. he posted vegans are assholes, and he had this whole story. And then I was like, no, humans are assholes.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who eat meat who are just as much, if not more, of an asshole about their meat consumption than the person you're talking about who is vegan. So that's just a really shitty thing to say.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's fair. So I just wanted to put that out there as a disclaimer. I'm not a holier than thou, you know, person, but I feel like me even eating the way I do now and, you know, eating vegan comfort food or whatever things that I consume, you know, are still doing for me better than when I was eating a fucking triple cheeseburger.
Oh,
you know,
exactly. Yeah.
Because I will turn around and just sit and, you know, I just ate a half a bag of raw vegetables. You know, I do that shit too. You know what I'm saying? Just sit at the table and eat fucking carrots and cauliflower and broccoli.
Mine it's peanuts.
Peanuts, I love peanuts.
Yeah, I could just sit and eat like way too many peanuts.
Yeah, you can eat too many, but peanuts, like nuts, are actually good for you.
Yeah, and I have a cholesterol thing, so I need the good.
Like walnuts are.
Yeah, I need the good the good fat.
Or like almonds and shit like that. Maybe not as much peanuts, but peanuts are, yeah.
I'm down for all of them. I'm down for all of them.
Cheeseburger.
Yeah, no shit. Hey, let me ask you this, because I can't remember. Because I just left Minneapolis a few years ago. I'm originally from Iowa, but I lived all over the place, but I spent 15 years in Minneapolis, so that's
shit, I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, that's how I found you. I saw a couple shows of yours over the years.
Okay.
Are you originally from the Twin Cities?
I was born in Chicago.
That's what I thought. Okay, cool. Because I'm originally I was born in Naperville, so I tell people I was born in Chicago.
It's close enough, right?
Yeah. So how did you end up in the Twin Cities?
My mom in Chicago was, I mean, part of the story I know is there was a tumultuous relationship with her and her family, and then, you know, when she left Chicago, she had 3 kids. You know, so she had 3 kids at 21 years old.
Damn.
So, or 22 years old or whatever. So I would like to say during that time, all the black people I know who moved from Chicago or Gary or Indiana to Minnesota were going out to Minnesota because that welfare was really good.
Okay.
So you can go out there and get them food stamps, and the government will really support you very well in that area more than, you know, you try to get that shit. And so I think it was an escapism to like have it easier. But, you know, I can't ask my mom about that because she's dead now. So
that's too bad.
I'm going to just, well, I mean, you know, some people just, you know, they take up space and they're more of a burden on the planet than they should be. And I think somebody like her just really lived a fucked up life. So it's probably better that she passed because she wasn't doing very much good here. You know, and I believe if you're going to be around, you need to make that shit count.
Oh, definitely.
You know, otherwise, yeah. So she wasn't making it count. So yeah, she had to go. You know, and it's probably better for her. You know, she was very much a tortured soul. But I want to say that she, you know, like a lot of the black people I knew at that time, came to Minnesota at the time where the government assistance was really good.
Okay.
So, you know, unless somebody tells me different, I'm going to assume that was the reason.
All right. No, that makes sense. As far
no,
as
it doesn't.
well, I gotta believe that.
I see what you're saying, but yeah. No. Like logically, it doesn't. But like you see why somebody like how I got there.
No,
that makes sense. Yeah.
And
but not logically, you need to get your shit together. That's
I get that. But that's one of the reasons why I kind of dug living in Minnesota, because it has a history of people coming there. You know, for different reasons and refuge or whatever, you know, trying to kind of start over again, myself included. I was a complete disaster when I moved there. So, so that's why I'm saying I get that Minnesota's a big city, but it's not like crazy big. So it seems like, at least in my opinion, it was a little more under control and a little nicer compared to some of the other bigger cities I had been in. So no, as far as, you know, coming to Minnesota, how do you remember? Did you tell me how old you were? I couldn't remember.
I was about 4 or 5-ish.
Okay.
I think it was. I was older than 3 and younger than 7.
Okay.
So somewhere in that area, it's kind of, some of it is kind of a blur to me.
Okay.
But yeah, I remember going to, you know, kindergarten. Let me see, first grade. I remember being in St. Paul for first grade.
Okay.
You know, so I remember that.
Okay, that makes sense.
I got there a little later, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Exact first grade, yeah.
So when when does rapping come into your life? You know, rapping, beatboxing, the culture, the whole thing.
I started beatboxing probably whatever year the Fat Boys came out.
Okay.
84, 83, 84?
Something like that, yeah.
So if it was 83, then I started when I was 9. If it was 84, I started when I was 10.
Okay.
So I usually like to say between 8 and 10.
All right.
Because
cool.
I was born in 74.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's in that area.
Okay.
And for my first introduction to the whole shit that became hip hop was listening to Run DMC and Herbie Hancock, Rocket.
Yes.
You know, when I heard that shit, I had a cool ass friend, a cool ass Native American friend named Lamar, and his dad was black and his mom was Native.
Okay.
And me and him were just really, really, really good friends, and they would always let me come over to their house. And his dad was always playing this dope ass music, and he was playing, you know, fucking Herbie Hancock and Run DMC, and I was like, whatever that shit is, it's just dope.
Okay.
You know, so that's when I started to realize that there was something out there that was musically appealing. But before that, I really liked all music. Like, my mom used to have some dope ass records, and you know, she used to play all these really, really dope soulful records. You know, the Luther Vandross and the Patti LaBelle's and Aretha Franklin's and the Anita Baker's and Teddy Pendergrass and all that stuff. I grew up listening to all that stuff too.
Perfect.
So I already knew. Yeah, I knew what soulful, good sounding music sounded like. Michael Jackson was my favorite. All that shit.
Oh yeah.
You know, Off the Wall and Thriller just was like that shit. But then I also liked rock music too. I used to always watch MTV and all the rock bands and shit. I was into that. You know, the guitar easily became one of my favorite instruments, even though I couldn't play it or I can't play it. And drumming and guitar were like really big for me, and that's what helped me develop a liking for rock. Okay. And that's why a lot of my music is rock influenced too. So I have I'm like a nice amalgamation of all of those different types of music because I saw it from all those different angles. Lamar's parents taught me hip hop. My mom taught me soulful R&B, and MTV taught me rock.
Okay.
When they actually played music videos back in those days.
Yeah.
It wasn't shitty reality shows or whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
But
no kidding.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me ask you this though: when did you? Okay, so you're getting into the hip hop. You're pretty young. When did you say I'm going to start doing this and actually start either trying to write rhymes, beatboxing on the regular, not just dicking around, but saying I want to do this?
Well, I mean, you don't ever really if you were like me. I heard beatboxing and I just started doing it because I liked it. Mm-hmm. I heard rap and when I heard Run DMC, I didn't really want to rap. I was still young. I was just kind of like, this shit is cool. I didn't know I could. But when I saw Herbie Hancock and I heard DJing, I wanted to DJ.
Okay.
So rapping was actually the last thing I got into. So if you think about it, here's how it kind of went for me. I heard singing, and I didn't really want to sing, but I could kind of because I have a really good memory for music. Okay. So all of those songs back in the days, all the Anita Bakers and all that stuff, I still remember the notes to all the songs in my head right now from back then. So I remembered it and I absorbed it, but I wouldn't say I really wanted to sing.
Okay.
Then I heard beatboxing and I started doing it. Then I saw DJing and I wanted to be a DJ. And I saw rock musicians and I wanted to play drums. But the difference between all of those things, wanting to do and not being able to do versus what I could do is turntables, drums, and guitars cost money. And I didn't have shit. So what I could do for free was beatbox and rap. And, imagine that I was a DJ,
okay.
So when I started beatboxing, I kind of incorporated what I loved about DJing into that skill. And then rapping was actually the last thing I started doing. And I heard Super Lover C was the first rapper I heard that I wanted to imitate.
Okay.
So I heard him and I kind of imitated him and I wrote my first rhyme kind of patterned off of his style. But then it was Chuck D when I heard Public Enemy who made me want to be an MC. I was like, I'm going to fucking be a rapper.
Dude, he's my favorite.
Chuck D has always been my favorite and always will be to this day. I heard Rebel Without a Pause and I shit my fucking pants. Seriously. Like, not literally, but seriously. Like, I heard that and I was like, whoa. Like, this is the fucking coolest song I've ever heard in my life. And I knew, I had heard a lot of music, by the time I was 12, 13 years old. I heard a lot of shit, but I had never heard anything that grabbed me by my throat and choked me almost to death, like when I heard Rebel Without a Pause. And I was like, well, there's a reason this hit me. Let me try my hand at it. And I would write raps to myself, but nobody really knew I rapped until I met this one dude named Stephen Dowdy, a.k.a. now DJ Excalibur.
Okay.
And me and him had a really, really similar liking of music. Like, he liked rock shit the way I did. He liked, the same hip-hop shit that I liked, he liked. And we were super, super, super similar. And he was the only one I knew who had all the records that I liked, that I had heard on the radio, but nobody else had access to them. So him and I became really good friends to the point where he was a rapper and he was DJing. So then I was like, oh, I write little raps on the side. And I hadn't really shown them to anybody. And then I rapped for him on the phone one day, and he was like, what the fuck did you just say? And he just flipped out over my style. And he was like, hold on, wait a fucking minute. And he got on three-way on his phone and called all of his friends. He was like, listen to this motherfucker rap.
That's hilarious.
It was crazy. He had me rap for all of his friends. And I was like, oh, okay, so here's somebody who tells me that my shit is good. Because I didn't know if it was good. I just fucking was rapping.
How old are you?
I thought it was like, you rap like you think you're good because that's what the rappers you like rap like.
How old are you at this point?
At this point, I was 13, 14.
Oh, all right, cool.
Like probably 14-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, about 14. Probably about 14. 13, 14. I would say, let me see, because I moved into that group home when I was 13, and I moved out when I was in that group home for shit, man. It was either 13 or 14.
Okay. Wow.
When I started, like, when him and no, wait a minute, it was a little before that because I was in the 8th grade. What year was I in the 8th grade when I met him? Year you usually in the 8th grade?
8th grade.
13?
Yes, 13.
13-ish. Yeah, be quiet. Yeah, I'm trying to get precise. Yeah, it does matter. It even matter. Hell yeah, it matters. But yes, I was probably 13.
Okay, cool.
13. I was spitting raps to him, and he gave me the confidence to like want to show my shit to people and keep going. And then he was dope too. So I was like, okay, if me and you gonna rap together, and you sound like that, I better fucking be like coming with it. Mm-hmm. So at an early age, I knew what I needed to do in order to sound dope next to a person who was dope. So I just kept working at it, and then people would be like, yo, you're nice. So then I just didn't stop. I practiced all the fucking time.
When do you start thinking I'm gonna release something? Even if it's a 4-track tape, to the neighborhood, or a CD or something.
Release?
Yeah, you want to put.
We used to make little fake demo tapes with each other.
Nice.
We had like a couple songs. We had like 2 or 3 songs, and shit that we just showed to each other.
Okay.
When I was like 15, we were playing around with that shit. 15, 16. But I actually got a management deal when I was I think I was 18.
No shit.
I was just going into my first year of college. I was going into college, and then we met this production company who wanted to quote unquote manage us.
Okay.
And I recorded my first real song the same year that Souls of Mischief and them came out with 93 Till Infinity.
Okay.
So it was around that time. So that was like an introductory point to me becoming more real about the music, because we actually did our first show at that time.
Okay.
And I did my first show right around the time Souls of Mischief and stuff was hitting. DOS Effects and Souls of Mischief was big when we recorded our first song.
Okay.
Because we sampled them.
Yeah, I'll say I can timestamp that. Okay. Whereabouts in town were you playing these first shows?
We played our first real show at the Glam Slam. At that point, it was rumored to be the club that Prince owned.
Okay.
It's been like 5 different clubs since then, but
it's downtown,
we
right?
played the Glam. Huh?
The one downtown?
Yep, downtown Minneapolis. Yep, it was epic.
Yeah,
and all of that shit. Yep.
I saw DJ Z Trip there one time. It's the only
That's
time
probably the place.
about the only time I've ever been there.
Fucking dope.
Yeah, he was.
That dude is dope. That's funny. I was just thinking about Z Trip today. A mix that he did that influenced me on some shit.
Oh,
but
right on.
yeah, it's crazy. But we did our first show there, and we actually we performed in the middle of an R&B group's set.
Okay.
So the R&B group did a couple songs, and then we came and did one song, and then they went back on. So that was how it kind of was back then. Like
Interesting.
rappers didn't get their own show.
Okay.
Where I was at, we didn't get our own show. We got a feature, and we tore it. From what I remember, we tore that shit down. People was feeling us. So
Well,
it was nice.
Well, yeah. If it's
You know?
if this is especially like mid '90s,
early 90s.
Early
yeah,
90s.
like 93, 94.
That's what I'm saying. Now, I'm assuming not a lot of venues were booking local rap because when I was in college and doing
Not
it
a
in
lot.
like 99, 2000, people were like, "What? You want to do a rap show? What?" You know?
Right.
So
Yeah, it was really difficult to get shows back then. So
I could imagine.
before a lot of the rappers that came up as the Minnesota elite were doing shit, we were doing shit.
Okay.
So we just didn't have a unit. We didn't have a team that was like dedicated and plus we were still kind of hobbyists too.
Okay.
We didn't know somebody like fucking Sadiq from Rhymesayers.
Yeah.
He was like, we're going to start our own label. Like we had people who talked that shit. They were like, we're going to manage you and get you signed to a label. That's what the thing was when we were coming up, people were trying to get signed.
Yeah.
And then by the time Rhymesayers came up, they were like, we can do this shit ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really there was a paradigm shift between the time I started and the time that independent hip hop started.
Okay.
You had like LP and Company Flow and them doing the shit with Rawkus saying independent as fuck. And then, the Living Legends were already doing that shit on the Cali side. And then Souls of Mischief and like the whole Hyro crew joined that movement too, all around the same time. So if you think about that, like that 96, 97-ish,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you had like Living Legends, Rhymesayers, and Hieroglyphics were all on that independent movement shit. They were like, fuck a record deal. And that was kind of weird for us because we were just like hobbyists anyway. So it was kind of like, yeah, whatever. And then we got burned a couple deals, quote unquote record deals that we kind of had.
Yeah.
We got burned, and there was even a time where, like, for a year, we were like, "We ain't doing this shit no more. Fuck hip hop. Fuck these motherfuckers."
Yeah.
So we stopped doing it for like, I don't know. It was really probably a couple months, but I like to say it was a year, but it wasn't. But then independent artists in Minnesota started doing their own shows and booking venues around Minnesota, and that's when like, Headspin and like all of those Bon Appetit and all these little, restaurants started hosting hip hop shit. And Cancer, there's a group Cancer from Minneapolis who
I know who they
kind
are.
of following. Yep, they started kind of following the Rhymesayers blueprint, but
Okay.
on a smaller level because they were still hobbyists. Rhymesayers and then were like, yo, we're gonna do this ourselves and fuck a job and
Yeah.
all this. So it was really kind of cool that they did that. It seemed like they were on that shit, but the other dudes were like, we just want to be broke rappers and do local shows and rap with our friends. So we were kind of around when that shit started happening. And as soon as I met the people who were doing that, and they all thought I was dope because I actually was, because I practiced so much. They were like, this dude is dope. I became friends with everybody, so I started doing all kind of shit with all different kinds of people. So I was cool with Rhymesayers, and I was cool with everybody who Rhymesayers didn't like.
Okay.
So I was like, or people that didn't like Rhymesayers because they thought that they were, whatever the shit was.
Yeah.
But I was like the guy who was always in the middle, and I was the guy who knew the secrets on both sides. Like people would be like the people would come and tell me shit about Rhymesayers, and then people from Rhymesayers would tell me shit about how they felt about the other side. So it's like I'm like this weird dude in the middle who just wanted to be a dope rapper and be cool with everybody. So it was kind of a weird position to be in, but I made it work.
All right, good. What would you say, especially back then or even now, as far as venues go? Where do you like playing in the Twin Cities?
There's not a lot of venues in Minneapolis and in the Minnesota area that really support hip hop like that.
Not anymore.
The way they
at
used
least.
to.
No.
Nah, like the little underground ones that people used to go to, where we all kind of built our names up, and like the ones that would book indie shit, they kind of just they kind of fell to the wayside, and the bigger clubs, they're just worried about numbers.
Yeah.
They're gonna book whoever's gonna bring the numbers. So it's difficult in that city to really like do some shit. And the people there, as far as like the quote unquote fans, they like they like their hip hop to sound a certain way. So everybody isn't gonna do very well there, and so, I feel like my sound isn't as much rooted in the way the Minnesota hip hop scene sounds. So I tend to travel a lot and go out and see what's happening in other cities, and I get a very, very good reception in just about every place I go. Yeah, so I feel pretty good.
And I'm not gonna lie, dude. I'm even a little out of touch with the Minneapolis scene, because I moved there in 2004, and so obviously I was big into Rhymesayers stuff. But back then it was, there was all kinds of stuff going on. I mean, because I remember that's how I ended up meeting Big Jess at a show at Triple Rock. I saw a bunch of stuff there, and it was like, and I want to
Triple Rock was a dope spot.
And I want to get into Hecatomb a little bit, but I remember your crew, UPs. Freaking Doomtree, Inebriation. Do you remember those guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I used to hang out with some of those guys or whatever, and it just seemed like when I first got there was like just shit tons of shows, and like I could go to a show every other night that I wanted to.
Yeah.
Because
that's true. There was.
And so, and I moved out to the burbs once, I got married and kid and all that jazz. So I kind of got detached. So you're saying it's really slowed down compared to how it was 10, 15 years ago?
I wouldn't say it's slowed. I mean, for just hip hop, it has.
Okay.
Like for underground hip hop, let's put it that way. For underground hip hop, the availability of venues to just play an underground hip hop show are few and far between. There are a few, but there's not nearly as many as every coffee shop that would do it. Every little restaurant that had a back room that you could put a little sound system in would do. And that it's not that much. The music scene hasn't dried up or anything. It's like the music is still everywhere. Like you can still go to a show almost every fucking night. It probably just won't be an underground independent hip hop show as much as it used to be.
I see what you're saying.
Right. So yeah, music hasn't gone anywhere. They're still huge there. But the kind of music you're gonna find if you're looking for hip hop is gonna be a little different. Like DJ nights are kind of big out there. There's a couple clubs out there you can't book a hip hop show at these clubs Thursday, Friday, or Saturday nights. So they're booking people on Wednesdays and trying to get people to come out on a Wednesday.
Good
like,
luck.
Yeah, you might get lucky and get some people. Dope. I just don't want to play that game. So
no, that makes
for me,
sense.
I do other shit. So.
Okay. Tell me about your crew.
Hecatomb is the squad. I started what I would call my own independent label in 2004 when I released my first mixtape. I did the Carnage Volume 0.5 EP, and that was the first Hecatomb related release. And I ended up selling thousands of that fucking CD.
Oh,
so it was I sold a lot of that shit. And I figured out a way to reinvent it 3 times, and I just fucking like hustled it so much that people would get it and be like, "Yo, I got your album," and I'm like, I wanted to really distance myself from calling it an album as much as people wanted to until I released my first solo album, my first for real solo album in 2007. So I was rapping in groups though all the way up until 2004. So people will sometimes be like, why don't you have a bigger catalog? It's like, because I was in groups all the way up until 2004. I didn't write my first solo song until 2005.
No shit. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I was in groups. I didn't know how to write a fucking song. I knew how to write a verse, and I knew how to come up with dope concepts.
Yeah.
But as far as being a fucking, well accomplished writing MC who wrote songs, that came a lot later. So my group before that was myself and DJ Excalibur. We had 3 different names. we were a group together a few times, and then we formed another group with some other dudes, and we called ourselves the Sweeps. And it was me and Excalibur, Concentrate, and this guy named Champagne, Christopher Champagne. We called him Pain. So we all were a crew for a few years, and we put out an EP and an album independently. And then after that, we didn't really do anything else. And then myself and Excalibur never came out with an album, but we have an album we finished. And we finished up to the point we could finish it up to in 2009, and we never released it. So there's a Nimnock album that has never been released that is kind of floating around in my possession. You know, if anybody's ever interested in that, you might not ever get it, but it's nice to ask me about it.
Yeah.
But there's that. And then, like, after that, I just, you know, went balls in all the way on the solo Carnage the Executioner shit. You know, and I never really looked back from there.
Okay.
So I would say the first releases we did were in 2000-ish, 2001-ish,
Yeah.
2003, or 2004. It's like somewhere between 2000 and 2004, the Sweeps released shit. We released 2 records. And before that, I didn't do anything else, and I didn't do anything after that until I released my. I released that EP or that mixtape that I called an EP, but it had 14 songs on it. It was really weird, but I dropped that and sold like thousands of those, and that was my first, I would call, Hecatome release. And then I started forming the Hecatome squad with like-minded individuals who were all rappers who was just kind of doing it for a hobby. We were all just kind of like, we all had families and jobs, and we were a little older, and we were all the dudes who weren't in Rhymesayers. So it was like just a bunch of friends who I thought were good people, and they were cool, and we all had a liking and a strong loving for raw underground hip hop. So that's how Hecatome started. And Hecatome still exists to this day, and it is, you know, metamorphosized into a crew of people all around the world. Like, there's Hecatome members in Germany.
No shit.
You know, there's like we're all over the place, and I would consider it more like a family than an actual label even.
Okay.
But for me, it's my label because I put out all my shit with my own imprint on it. So there's the Hecatome label, there's the Hecatome Industries label, and then there's the Hecatome squad, and I am the Hecatome Industries label.
Okay, that makes sense. How many people would you say collectively do you have involved in the family?
30 or more, at least. Damn. 30.
Okay, how many are those like Minnesota, Twin Cities based, and how many are everywhere else?
I would say that the majority of them are. Let me think about that for a minute. I would say close to half of them, probably, maybe half or a little bit more might be Minnesota. But there's other people who I consider Hecatome family, Hecatome squad all over. You know, like I said, there's a dope DJ producer in our group named Repeat 23 from Germany, who's like laced mad people with mad beats. And then there's 8 Bizza, who lives in New Hampshire, who did 2 beats on my last album.
Okay.
The one I just put out. And then you know, there's Sammy Warmhands, who lives in Eugene, Oregon, and then there's you know, Articulate, who lives in Nebraska, and you know, Katana, who now lives in Denver, and Tayamu Danku, who lives in Milwaukee. You know, so yeah, you know, you see what I'm saying? It's like they're not everybody is in Minnesota.
Oh, and that's fantastic. You know? That's
I like it that way.
It's nice. It's almost like you're setting up franchises, and you gotta.
Oh yeah, we're super franchised, and then there's like also a shout out to my dudes out in Illinois, Ethan, aka Mr. Multiples, and my dude Source K. They're out in the Chicago, Illinois area. So yeah, like that posse cut that I have on my record. You know, there's more people from out of state on that record than Minnesota. Excellent. On that song. Yeah. So I'm proud of that. I think that's dope. I think it's dope to expand like that.
Oh, definitely.
So, you know, we went from like 8 rappers in Minnesota to like 30 worldwide. You know, and with producers and DJs and other people doing other different types of things too. So I would say, you know, about 25 to 30 who I would say are family. Okay. Not everybody is active, but I would call them family. Okay. You know, I would call them family, and I would go to bat for any of them dudes. If somebody's fucking with them, they gotta fuck with me type shit. So yeah.
No, I can respect that.
Yep.
So you've mentioned the new album a couple times. What's it like if you're gonna sit down and say, I want to make a new record? How does it even start as far as your process goes? How does it even start?
Concepts start coming in my head, and I just start writing down lyric notes and song concepts and different stuff like this. All of that stuff happens before I even have beats.
Okay, cool.
I knew what this Ravenous album was going to be about before I had a lot of the beats. But then I would get beats and be like, this beat would fit the concept. This beat would fit that, and that album, Ravenous album, was in the working. It had been in the works for damn near 5 years before it actually came out.
Okay.
I like all of the different versions of records that I put out after Respect the Name, which came out in 2013, or 2012. After that, everything I worked on was a derivative of the beginning of what would later become Ravenous. But I knew for myself I didn't have the concept all the way right, and it wasn't coming out the way I wanted it to.
Okay.
But I still needed to put albums out, so I just took different songs and put different songs together to make different concept albums until the Ravenous concept came to me clearly when I went plant-based. And then the whole concept just fell into my lap, like, oh, here it is right here. This is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for, a triple meaning to come up.
Yeah, it seems like the stars kind of aligned for you there.
Oh, yeah. Everything happened the right way, and that's why this record turned out as good as it did, I think. Now this is the one to beat, and I have to work. I feel like I have to work pretty hard to beat it, but it's a challenge I'm willing to step up to. But the other records, it just, the process kind of starts with just like having concepts and having a bunch of songs that you write based on the concepts, and if you have beats for them, then you write the raps to the beats and then maybe record them.
Yeah. Like
my process is like this whole album was written before I recorded one song.
Okay.
Like I had the beats and the ideas and the concepts and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then I just one day but at a period of time I locked myself in the studio for 3 weeks and then made the album, recorded the album, but it was already written. Okay. That my process is a little different from other people's.
I couldn't imagine going in, especially because do you have like a buddy or a Hecatomb collective that's recording this, or are you going to somebody and hunkering down the hourly rate at a studio?
Nah, the homies recorded me on this one. Shout out to them lovely Hecatomb brothers. My boy Just Wolf recorded almost the whole, like most of the album, and then my boy Jaron from West End Productions recorded the rest of it and mastered it and mixed it and all of that. Him and I put that whole thing together. And then I had some mixing from another guy who's not a Hecatomb guy, but he's like a super ill professional, Rob Genetic from Brew Hut Studios. He laced me real nice too with the mixes for a couple of those songs that end up being singles. But so yeah, luckily for me, I had two people who I didn't have to pay a shit ton of studio time to in order to get my records done. So that helped.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
That's called you get to be in Hecatomb. It's like you're a part of the squad, and and then they just go, well, shit, you that dude like that, come over here and we ain't gonna charge you. And I'm like, you that dude like that for, record my shit. So whatever you need, I got your back. So there's rewards. We all kind of help each other out. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely setup.
Excellent. That's good. And it's cool that you go into the studio prepared, even though it's, the homies where you could probably be a little more relaxed. I couldn't imagine having the creative process of going into a studio and not having every single song written down to a T and having it memorized. What I mean?
I kind of did do that. Like I was memorized and knew what the songs were about before I went to the studio.
See, that's fantastic. And I couldn't imagine not being that ready and just like kind of working it as you went. That just seems like to take up so much extra time,
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying. Now I would go and do a 5-hour session and get 2 or 3 songs done.
Nice.
And that was productive for me because I knew I practiced my shit and you know, there was a couple that were kind of hard to do. I was trying to get the choruses right, or I'm like, man, fuck, this is taking forever. But I wouldn't stop until I got it right. The way I wanted to hear it in my head, I kept going until I got it right. And shout out to Just Wolf for like being patient with me. There was a couple times where I was just like, he was like, man, you sure you're going to keep doing this? I'm like, yep, I'm going to get it right. You know, and I ended up getting it to the point that I can listen to the record now and not cringe.
And that's what I think that's the important part as an artist, is as long as you think it sounds okay, it's okay.
Yeah, right.
Because
if it probably would have sounded okay the other way, but I wasn't willing to risk it because I was like, nah, it doesn't sound the way I want it to sound in my head, though.
No, I totally get it. Because I mean,
like I'm totally visionary, visual when it comes to the music. If you know, like a lot of, if it doesn't sound the way it sounds in my head or better, it's not right. So most of the time I can get it to sound the way I want to in my head, and that's accomplishment. But there's a time where it turns out better. It's like, oh, that sounds better than I thought it was gonna. But if it sounds worse, I'm not keeping it. It's like I'm either gonna work at it until it's right, or I'm gonna be like, nah, this just ain't gonna work. There's a couple songs that didn't make it. Not very many, but there's a couple that was just like, that ain't doing it for me.
Well, yeah, I mean, that shit's going to live forever. You got to be satisfied with it.
Exactly. Yep, I refuse to put out something I don't like.
As far as the music goes, I mean, I can't even believe I have to ask this question in 2019, but are you even making any money on the music itself, strictly the music? You can't be. I mean, CDs, like on tour, I'm bet you have. I'm assuming you have a badass merch stand. I remember at one time you had socks, for Pete's sakes, or M&Ms or some shit. But outside a merch table, there can't be shit for money in music anymore.
So what do you? Because I'm gonna break this down for you in a second here. What are you specifically referring to? Are you referring to like selling albums, making money off of shows? What do you mean?
I'm talking about strictly music sales or streams. Because I know that there's still money in touring and selling merch and stuff. But as far as, because I've put my own little low rent shit out on the platforms, right? And so I know that they don't cut the artist shit on the streaming. You know what I mean? So, how has that been for you?
So streaming. You're talking about streaming.
Streaming and digital and stuff like that. Or are you mostly slinging CDs at the merch table?
I don't even know what direction I should answer this in before I answer it. So I'm going to just start somewhere.
All right, just go for it.
First of all, I never used to promote streaming, even though all my records were on the streaming platforms. Mm-hmm. One of the reasons is that I didn't put any of those records on the streaming platforms myself. They were all put out by somebody else who was a quote-unquote label or distributor who I was signed to. So I didn't really push them that much because I didn't really see them as that big of a source of income even back then because A, I didn't put them out, B, I've always had the experience of fucking selling CDs.
Yes.
like I sell CDs. So for me to be like, oh, go out and stream my shit, I'm like, it was a foreign concept to me at first because it was like, really? Why would I tell you to go and, listen to something that the money is not going to come to me directly with when I can sell you this CD and you're going to listen to it, So I didn't understand the importance as much. Well, I put this record out and I was like, let me do it the way everybody else is doing it now.
Yeah.
Let me promote Spotify and the streaming platform like that and all that shit. So I did it, and I will say this. This record is responsible for me having more money in streams than I've ever seen any other time. Like, the other thing is like, let me get that right though. The last two records I put out on that are streaming, I put them out on the streaming sites. So Minnesota Mean, for example, I got some money from distribution for that.
Good.
Yeah, not from streaming, not as much as Ravenous though, because when I put Ravenous out, I actually said go listen to it on Spotify. The album is available on all streaming platforms. So, just to be honest with you, before I put Ravenous out, I used to get maybe 2 or 3 times a year, every few months, I would get a $20 check from CD Baby for streaming and distribution or whatever.
CD Baby, yes.
Since I put Ravenous out, I get one of those like every other month.
Okay.
Or every month. Yeah. So I'm making more money from streaming than I ever have.
Good.
And that's money I can make without leaving my house.
Yeah, no kidding.
So maybe some people are hitting bigger numbers than that. Great. I don't really push streaming as much as some other people do, but for the fact that I can make more money now, like triple the money that I made before, is a testament to something. Secondly, I fucking sell CDs, so I don't have to push streaming as hard and as vehemently as somebody who doesn't sell CDs. And I believe those people who are pushing streaming a lot, who aren't selling CDs, are probably not selling very much in streaming either.
No.
It's just like they're doing it like that because that's the way that you're supposed to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people just do things the way they think it's supposed to be done because everybody else told them they needed to do it like that. And I don't believe that. Like, I feel like everything the way I do it is totally avant-garde to what most artists are trying to do. And what works for me is not going to necessarily work for somebody else, but what works for them is not necessarily going to work for me either.
Mm-hmm.
I've had this kind of conversation with Blueprint before, and he was like, the way you're doing your shit is like backwards. I was like, no, it's not backwards. It works for me.
Yeah.
I wasn't signed to a label like you. You were signed to Rhyme Sayers, motherfucker. You can't tell me that I should go on tour and just tour the record. I need to go on tour for the live show and then sell the record at the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's the other way around for me. Like, I don't know anybody who's doing it like that. I don't know anybody who's leading with their show foot forward and then selling the record based on that.
Yeah, well, because the classic Blueprint, or no pun intended, but the classic Blueprint, I mean, Atmosphere is a perfect example.
Yes.
They put out a record and they tour it. Put out a record and tour it.
Right.
No, that's cool.
Yeah. But it works for them. And like I said, I love Blueprint. Blueprint has given me some knowledge.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, but he wasn't right on this one for me. Like,
hey, man, like I said,
couple people told me a couple things that wasn't right. And that was, just kind of like, oh, you're not leading with your album foot. And I was like, yeah, because I can't put out an album and have it sell the way you do because your album used to be available to everybody.
Yeah.
Based on you being on Rhyme Sayers. My album has never been like that. I've never had an album that's been that readily available to people. So what I need to do is get in front of people and make them believers in what I do and then sell the record there.
That's almost kind of the classic 60s British band. I'm going to go over to America. They don't really know who I am, but I'm going to blow their doors off at the show, and then they're going to buy the record on the way out.
That's exactly.
Nice.
That's what I'm trying to do.
No,
and it's working for me.
Hey, as long as it works. I mean, there's something there's something to be said about buying CDs. People still like them. And it's like, if someone's going to buy your music, the likeliness of them right after your show is probably greater than any time.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I sell, I sell some stuff online as far as my website.
Mm-hmm.
For a while, I was selling really good with the Minnesota Mean record. But I think it was the extra merchandise that came with it that made it sell so well. Like I had, different hats and different shirts and, all these other little things that I would sell with the CD that people would come and buy that stuff, and then they would buy the CD as part of the package. So, the CD becomes something that I sell to people, but it's not the biggest determining factor on whether or not I'm going to make money. It's the merchandise, and the CD plays a part in that. The biggest determining factor for me is a dope live show.
Yeah.
The fact that people consider my live show to be dope, so do I. But I sell records at my shows. I move units. To be honest, the only reason I have any copies of any of my old records, I have less than 10 copies of any record I've ever put out. Right. Like some records I don't have any of. I don't have any sense of sounds. I have 2 Ultimatum cassettes out of 400. You know.
Oh, I remember you
like,
put that out on cassette. I bought the EP online of that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember you had a cassette.
I put it out as a cassette and sold 400 copies of it.
No shit.
The only reason I have any left is because I'm like holding on to them because I don't want to take it off my website.
No, I get it.
I'm hoarding it. But I'm on my 3rd run of Minnesota Mean CDs, and I probably have about 15 left of that. Respect the Name, probably have 2 or 3 of those. I did 3 runs of that. I'm on my 3rd run of Ravenous.
Wow. Okay.
I'm doing pretty good. I sold over 300 7-inch vinyls of a single.
The Show Saver one?
The Show Saver one. Yeah, I sold all those.
I got one of
when
those.
People were saying nobody's going to buy a 7-inch.
I bought it.
Bullshit.
I thought that because I thought the whole concept and the 2 songs on it were really cool, but well, that's good. I like to hear that people are still moving merch because I've heard just the horror stories of digital's ruining everything. And so I'm a big believer if you're going to go all the way, if you're going to try to at least make any money on music, you got to be playing gigs. So it makes sense that if you're putting on a hell of a show as you travel around the country, they're going to obviously want to buy something. So
right. I'm sorry if I'm smacking in your ear.
No, it's cool, and it's
my dinner.
No, you're fine, and it's time to wrap up anyway. I'm trying to keep these. You're actually going to be my very first interview on the show.
Okay.
Coming next week on the 1st. And I'm trying to keep them down to about an hour or so. And there's going to be a little bit of content on the front end and stuff. So no, this is actually kind of a good time to wrap things up. So don't worry about you're going to have plenty of time to eat your dinner. But before we go,
go ahead.
Where can we find you on social media for starters?
Wait a minute. Didn't you want to ask something about setting up a tour, or are you run out of time?
We have run out of time. We're going to do that next time.
Oh, okay.
All right.
We can do it.
Yeah, because I'm trying to keep it. I'm a big. Are you a big podcast guy?
I'm becoming.
Okay. When I used to live in when I last lived in Minnesota, I lived in Champlin. And I used to work at Allianz Life on 394 and 100 right there, that big building right there.
No, St. Louis Park. I used to live over there.
Yeah, and it would take me 45 minutes to an hour every day to get to work, taking 169 or 100 down. And so, like, I was like just a podcast junkie for several years, and now I live in Des Moines, and I'm like 8 miles from my office. I get through one a week, but my favorite style is kind of in and out. Around an hour. I always think that's kind of perfect, and so that's kind of why I want to wrap it up. But I want to save some stuff for later because I think this has been a pretty good interview. So I don't know if you've enjoyed yourself or not, but
I have.
Okay, good. But I want to bring you back sometime in the near future, and I want to get into the tour aspect a little more as far as setting it up, dealing with promoters, playing with shitty local openers, that sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's definitely save that one.
I'm sure you've seen plenty of that. So, yeah, I would like to definitely talk about that a little later down the road if you're cool with that.
I would love it.
All right, cool.
Let's set up something in the next couple of weeks for the next couple of months and see if we can get something.
Definitely. So, where can we find you on social media?
My website, CarnageTheExecutioner.com. I'm on Twitter, Carnage XXXL, XXL. I'm on YouTube, Carnage XXL, Carnage the Executioner. You can find me easily on YouTube. And on Instagram, it's my favorite. I'm Carnage the Executioner on Instagram.
Perfect. All right. Anything else we need to get out there? Because this is dropping on October 1st, so I think it's like Tuesday or something next week. So is there anything you want to promote for next week?
My album. Go and get my album. It's dope.
Yes, it is. I've
find
heard
it on all the streaming platforms is there. And in addition to that, I'm on the Eat to Live tour right now, and this tour is going to go all the way to December 14th. So if I'm in your city, catch me.
Definitely.
I got a lot of places to go still on this tour, so hopefully I'll see some of these people who are listening to the podcast.
Perfect. All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for being guest number one.
Thanks, my dude. Thanks for looking out. And let's get something set up soon for the other part.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, man. Peace.
Thank you for listening to Middle Age Crazy, the show that proves being an adult doesn't have to suck. Brought to you by moonsaltmusic.info. Underground and independent hip-hop for the old heads. Free downloads available now. All show inquiries can be sent to middleagecrazypod@gmail.com. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Middle Age Pod. Call us at 515-478-3412. Ask for Janice. Middle Age Crazy is a Greg Valentine and Clarence J. Washington production.